um, because winter is long and cold, and it's nice to share them with active and interesting companions. And if you feed birds in your backyard, don't just focus on identifying them, but really watch their behaviors. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the birds do really interesting things that you can learn about by inviting them into your backyard. There's a huge variety of foods you can feed, way more than I'm showing here, but these are the most common things that we'll be feeding, and we'll talk about some of these in more detail. Um, what we I don't feed most of those things in the previous list. I feed very little of this at all, except for the suet. But what we feed is this hot pepper seed, and it's by a company called Coles. We get it uh, through the mail, through the internet. Um, and it discourages mammals. So most mammals do not like hot peppers, and the birds don't mind it at all. So if you want to discourage squirrels, rats, and mice, the hot pepper seed is highly recommended. And we tend to get the sunflower chips in hot pepper seed, and we also get the suet in hot pepper. It's a really good way to discourage mammals and encourage birds. Sunflower chips have become more and more popular. We used to feed a lot of Niger or thistle seed, but my birds prefer sunflower chips over Niger or thistle. Other people have different results, which is kind of interesting. And then we like having bluebirds come to our backyard, and the favorite food for bluebirds is mealworms. And so we feed a few mealworms a little bit every day, and our bluebirds have abandoned us so far this winter, but we're sure they'll find us in the next few days. So there's a huge variety of feeders available that you can make or you can buy, but be sure that you have safe feeders that don't have sharp edges or corners, easy to clean because you're going to want to do that on a regular basis, sturdy because after a couple winters they all fall apart, it seems like, and easy to fill because if you're successful, the birds will eat you out of house and home. When I started out feeding birds uh, centuries ago. Hopper feeder was the most popular thing, and as a Cub Scout and Boy Scout, we learned how to make hopper feeders. And they're great because they keep the seed dry.
Okay.
They got a nice roof over the seed and keep it dry and healthy for the birds. The most popular feeder is probably a tray or platform feeder, but as you can see from both of these feeders, they do not keep the seed dry. And after a rainstorm, you really have to clean it out, dry it out, and start from scratch. So having a roof over your feeder can be really valuable. But some birds, especially sparrows and juncos, really come preferably to a tray feeder. So you may want to do a tray or a platform feeder, especially close to the ground, and just clean it up after every storm. The most popular feeder at this day and age is a tube feeder, and there's a huge variety of tube feeders. On the left, they're feeding millet, and on the right, they're feeding a mixed seed. And I don't recommend either. I recommend feeding the sunflower chips in the tube feeders or black oil sunflower seeds out of your tube feeders. The mixed seed and the millet seeds go better in a platform feeder or a hopper feeder. And then here's a Niger, formerly called thistle. And you can do a thistle sock on the left. It'll last you usually a full season before the bird's feet rip it apart. Or you can do a plastic a feeder like the one on the right. And you can see that they've been tremendously successful at attracting winter goldfinches. So Niger can be successful. As I say, I get the same birds coming to sunflower chips. We buy the store-bought suet on the left-hand side, and you can tell that that's a downy woodpecker because the downy woodpecker is smaller than the cage. If you have a woodpecker that comes that is as big or bigger than the cage and looks a lot like this bird, it's probably a hairy woodpecker. Bird sizes are really tough to tell, but if you have something outside that you know the size of, you can say if something is bigger or smaller, and it helps you identify the birds that are coming. So in the old days, again, when I was a Boy Scout, we made our own suet balls. We used to go to the butcher and ask for suet from the butcher and mix it up with peanut butter and seeds and make a huge mess in the kitchen.
Okay.
Most people don't do that anymore. They just go and buy it at the store. Yeah.
Your audio is coming in and out. Is there
Uh-oh.
anything covering your microphone maybe?
Yeah, maybe my hand.
Yeah.
Let's try it without my hand there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So suet is a really good food to offer, and sometimes these warblers, pine warbler on the left, yellow-throated warbler on the right, will come in to eat at the suet. Of course, sometimes mammals will come in as well, so protecting suet from mammals can be a really important thing to do. Peanut feeders are great, but squirrels love peanuts. So if you're feeding peanuts and you don't want the squirrels to eat them all, you've got to find a clever way to offer them. The right-hand side is a pretty good way to do it, but you probably need a squirrel-proof outside to keep them from coming in and grabbing all those peanuts. There are several stores in the area now that are selling bird feeders and bird seed and bird houses and all sorts of other paraphernalia. The backyard bird feeder is kind of a new name for stores that have been here for a long time. Alexandria, Burke, Oakton, and Woodbridge have them. The Alexandria store is next to a Pepe's Pizza. And Pepe's Pizza has been imported from New Haven and is one of the greatest pizzas in the history of the free world. And so I highly recommend going to Alexandria and picking up your birding supplies and having some pizza while you're there. For the Wild Birds is in McLean, and there are Wild Birds Unlimited stores in Arlington, Ashburn, and Gainesville. And if you know of other Wild Bird stores in Northern Virginia, please let me know. We want to let everybody know where they're located. So if I've overlooked something, let me know. So that's how to get your high-end supplies at those places. If you're really just looking for suet or seed, you can get a lower price with less advice at Southern States, at Home Depot, and at Lowe's. So there's a lot of supplies. If you're going to those places anyway, you can pick up a lot of birding supplies there. But you probably want to go into the bird feeding specialty stores just to find out what the latest and greatest things are. And then if you're going mail order, Duncraft has everything you could ever possibly imagine. It's not the cheapest, but it's high quality. And again, you get really good advice from Duncraft. There are other